Construction work is a grueling career path that tests you mentally and physically. Still, workers in Augsburg, Germany were not expecting to come face to face with eerie, deathly reminders from the past during a routine project. The workers didn't have time to do anything but run for their lives and call the authorities to come and help. So what was it that the construction workers found? In 2016, a construction team was laboring in Augsburg, one of the oldest cities in Germany. Their main focus was to lay down the foundation as quickly as possible, and thankfully they hadn't run into any significant issues. All the workers were tasked with digging down, and while it is common to find old discarded items hidden beneath the dirt, the thing that one of the large machinery stumbled upon left the men running away for their lives. It was only 1 week to Christmas, and despite the bitter cold and the longing to be inside and warm with their families, the construction workers focused on getting the job done, and we are confident that they would have persevered if it had not been for what they had found. And while the workers always joked about finding hidden gold or gems during their digs to keep morale up during these challenging projects, they never actually believed that it would ever happen until now. As you can imagine, the experienced construction workers who had found the item buried in the ground weren't spooked easily. Instead, they prided themselves in being no-nonsense people who worked with reason. But even they knew that whatever they had found, hidden underneath this forgotten pile of dirt, needed to be dealt with specialist care. So the construction site manager called to halt all work until officials arrived to review the mysterious finding. 5 long and slow days passed before any of the authorities visited the site, despite the site manager calling them several times. The idea that the construction workers had found what they had described was so ludicrous that even the authorities didn't believe them. They had thought the workers were being too paranoid or even delaying the construction work intentionally so that they could spend more time with their families during the holidays. Little did they know that the more they left this historic artifact unattended, the deadlier it became. Finally, after several calls, the specialist visited the site and ran some tests. To everyone's horror, the object the construction workers had unearthed turned out to be an unexploded 2-ton bomb. One wrong move, or even a tiny tremor, could result in its detonation, leaving the entire town in ruins. With the holiday season in full swing, officials needed to make a decision, and that too quickly. Should they evacuate the city immediately and end up running everyone's Christmas, or leave the disposal and removal of the bomb after the holidays? They needed to know more about this bomb to find the correct answer to this question. An in-depth research concluded that it was supposed to be detonated during World War II, a deadly conflict between 1939 and 1945. Also, judging by the size of the bomb, if it had detonated as it was intended, it's likely the city of Augsburg may not have existed today. So, while it was surprising to find this bomb buried in the heart of the town after all of these years during World War II, there was certainly no shortage of bombs. Throughout the conflict, more than 2.7 million tons of bombs were dropped on Europe by both the British and United States Air Forces, wreaking havoc on the Axis forces. Sadly, 1.35 million tons of these bombs were dropped on Germany alone, devastating significant parts of the country. Despite the intense bombings, Germans refused to surrender until May 1945. It was only when there was no hope did they wave the white flag. Their stubborn attitude left the country in utter ruins. It wasn't just the bombings that cost Germany dearly, but also, as Allied soldiers marched through the country, they looted and burned historic buildings and artifacts. And seeing this undetonated bomb was a sharp reminder of those horrid times. While this was the first bomb found in Augsburg, the same can't be said for Germany. It's estimated that around 10% of the millions of tons of bombs that were dropped never exploded. They are buried deep down in the earth, and many German cities are rebuilt around these ticking time bombs, unaware of the looming danger beneath their feet. Germany even has a specific task, focusing on finding and removing these bombs called KMBD. KMBD was also called in Augsburg, and after consulting with them, everyone agreed that this matter needed to be dealt with quickly. They even concluded that bad weather could also cause the bomb to explode, and with the town in the depth of winter, it was best to remove it immediately. The bomb that had been uncovered belonged to the British Royal Air Force, which was concerned for the city's safety. Therefore, it was recommended that the entire population be evacuated before they could begin their work. This prompted the largest evacuation since World War II. 54,000 people in Augsburg would be forced to leave their homes. To ensure that the evacuation went as smoothly as possible, the city used over 100 buses and trams to help the citizens of Augsburg out of the town as quickly as possible. To make sure no one was left behind, police officers walked the abandoned streets with air horns and megaphones to notify anyone that hadn't heard about the evacuation order to leave the town immediately. Officials also set up roadblocks so that nobody could enter the city without permission. At 3 p.m. on Christmas Day, 2 bomb defusing experts from Würzburg started to defuse the bomb. Protocol forced that only 2 people would be allowed within a mile of where the bomb was situated, so it became up to the 2 men to save centuries of history and thousands of people's homes. And of course, these 2 experts were also risking their own lives. One wrong move, and they would be the first one in the blast wave. Being well aware of the risks, the experts continued and started their work. They worked tirelessly for hours to ensure the job was done right. Thankfully, their knowledge and training paid off, and the duo could disarm the bomb quickly. And within hours, just as quickly as the city was emptied, residents were not allowed to come back in, and by Christmas dinner, Augsburg was back in full swing with people enjoying drinks and food with family and friends. Even in 2022, the KMBD is still hard at work removing thousands of tons of bombs that remain covered under the earth in Germany. While the country has a policy where all new constructions must first check for bombs, sometimes these searches aren't properly executed. Horst Reinhardt, the chief of the Brandenburg State KMBD, joined the force in the 1980s, and he never thought it would take this long to find all the bombs, even after 30 years of dedicated work. Every year, the KMBD teams discover close to 500 tons of weaponry and have to regularly defuse bombs that were dropped by Allied strategic bomber planes. Germany still needs to spend years making sure that it is bomb-free. KMDB teams have located 2,000 tons of unexploded materials, which is an alarming number in itself. Considering that over 70 years have passed since the bloody conflict that was World War II ended. This isn't a one-off story, though. At one point, 20,000 people were evacuated from Cologne, Germany, when a 1-ton bomb was found in the city during a construction project. Another 20,000 Dortmund citizens were evacuated while a half-ton bomb was in the process of being defused. On top of that, 45,000 residents in Koblenz were evacuated in 2011 when a bomb was discovered at the bottom of the Rhine River. While thankfully all of these bombs were caught in time, and Germany has not suffered any casualties. But this doesn't make this okay that the innocent people of the country still have to live in fear that one wrong move could end thousands of lives. Hopefully, KMDB efforts are slowly minimizing these threats, ensuring that Germans can live their lives looking forward rather than always having to relive the horrors of the past decades. Major credit goes to men like Horst who dedicate their lives to the greater good.